Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm Sankey84 and welcome back to Blackthorn Arena. Yes, we're back and a lot quicker than I was expecting. The game has come out in full now, so as promised I will be doing a review on all things that have changed. And even a few little ones that have stayed the same. Now, before we begin, I would like just to give the devs a quick apology, because in my previous video that you can find by clicking the link card above, I missed out a fairly important part of the game, and that is the role library. So we will get into that in a moment, and I will show that off this time. But let's start with the title screen. And as you can tell, yes, that has changed. The title screen now is well, personally, it's a lot nicer, I think. So now let's just have a quick look at the role library and what that entails. Because, yeah, this makes the game, well, it changes it slightly, I think, and gives a bit more personality to certain areas. So let's quickly look at that now. Okay, so this is where we get to create our own gladiators. As you can see here, I have created several already. I've had a lot of fun creating some proper and some fun ones. We're going to start looking at a few of them here. We've got the two humans of Caleb and Beauregard. And if you do recognise them names, yes, they are based off the characters from Critical Role. Next we have two elves. So we've got Legolas, who is again, yes, based from Lord of the Rings. And then we have Ariana, and she was just a name, it was that I just liked. I like the line. I don't know where I've heard it before, but I did like it, so I just picked it. Next we've got dwarves. So we've got Gimli, again, Lord of the Rings. And then we have Tiny. Now at this point I was starting to wonder, what can I do? So I wanted to see what's the smallest in height you can get anything. So I thought, well, while I'm doing a dwarf, I'll make Tiny as tiny as possible. So when we have a look at her, you get this. Yep, that is the smallest you can get. Now I'll admit I haven't done the biggest, but that might be something I can look at in the future. But yep, so that is the two dwarfs. Next is the Beastman. So we've got Fork, and yes, he is based from Fork from Fallout 3. And we've also got Kith, and yes, that N is silent because I'm British and I enjoy putting letters into words that are silent. Just like colour should have a U in it. But I got to ask, like, well, what can we do? What are the extremes? So I decided to have a look at extremes, and that's where Falcon came into it. I decided with him to put all the sliders that you can have to the right. I wanted to see, what was technically the biggest of everything you could put in. So I went with the elves because they seem to have the biggest variety in the way the sliders work. And I then clicked on, and this is what we got. There we go. So yep, that is whatever that is, but yep, that's every slider up to the right. So you can get some fair bits of fun with it. But then I thought, well, what about the opposite? What if everything is down to the left? And Anno came in at that point, so I decided, well, you know what? Let's put them all down to the left and see what we get. And then we get this. Yeah, it does look a bit weird. So yeah, you can, make some strange looking gladiators if you so wish. But they were all done pre-patch. Since the release of the full game has been done, I've come back and looked at some of the new stuff. And Peppy was the first one I did, and I was just looking at the new hair colours and tattoos and the tattoo colours. So with her, and then Gala I thought I'd give another look at, and I just, again, not much change, just a few different colours and paints to put on the face. But I did find one GIF here, or GIFer, but I always call him GIF. Right, I've made him an orc, or Urukai, apologies, and I've given the white hand of Sauron, and my thoughts there were, you know what, why not make an orc army, or an Urukai army, or something along those lines. Now, hopefully, you know, in the future I can do something like that, but for now, you know, this is the closest I can get. But then you've got Rhoda here, and she was actually a pre-made one. Now, in the game, as you're playing, if any of your gladiators die, if you have an attachment to them or like them, you can actually put them into this editor here to keep them. And I've got to say, she was absolutely brilliant in my previous playthrough. She was the strongest, she was winning everything, and it was literally, I put her in one fight too many after each other, and all the injuries took their toll, so she ended up dying, unfortunately. But that's that, and yeah, we can edit it if we wish, but I'm not going to do that. Now, why the editor? Well, we'll get to that in a moment, and how these come into play. But let's just show you now quickly what the editor actually has in it. Now, at the moment, I feel it is very basic. So you can firstly pick what outfit you are going to put on to the gladiator. You can have them naked if you so wish, but that is actually starting them off a bit weaker than any of the others, where if you put an outfit on them, at least they start off with some, if limited, defense. Now, all of these outfits are identical in stats, it's just the aesthetic you wish to go for. Now, some of them do come with additional parts, like you just noticed, that one comes with a helmet there, where the others don't. So again, there is maybe a little bit of tactics you can put in. Next is the race. Now, there's only 4 races at the moment, and I'm hoping that gets expanded in the future. I'm hoping to see a few more. I'm not on about, you know, weird fantasy creatures like succubuses or, you know, demons or anything like that. I'm more about the more humanoid ones, like, you know, tieflings, half-orcs, goblins, halflings, things like that, you know, just a few more to give a bit more variety in the type of gladiator, because there are plenty of creatures that are out there that you can fight in the arena. There are goblins you can actually fight, so instead of actually having the goblins as a creature, well, just change them over to a gladiator. And, you know, you could still have the goblins as creatures that you fight, that's fine, but have a different set that you can actually have as genuine gladiators. You know, tieflings can be quite amusing ones, and, you know, you can just change it up, and, you know, well, I'll leave that to the devs to make that, but, you know, they're the sort of things that I would like to see added. And then obviously you've got your genders of male and female, not really much more you can do with that. Now, looking at a few things here, the skin colour of the humans and elves and dwarves are completely identical. Then you've got the same selection as previously, and it does change what their skin colour looks like. And that's fine, not a problem with that one. When you get to the beastmen, the skin colour is slightly different. There are only 4 skin colours to choose from, and while they are different when you click on them and go through them, so you've got like a bluish tint into the skin colour, then you've got a slightly darker blue, then more of a grey and a green. And the skin pigments don't really match up too close to the actual colour that it says they should be, but that's not an issue. But I'd like to see maybe a few more options on skin colours. You know, a more vibrant green, a more vibrant blue, a red even. May not be, these are just all mainly for the more extreme fantasy sort of creatures. So if you do add tieflings and half-orcs and, them sort in there, these sort of colours, along with adding them to the brute men, would really change the way the gladiators look. I mean, at the moment the colour changes are very minor and slight. So being able to make gladiators a bit more extreme coloured will bring that fantasy element into it. Now I'm not on about, just it looks like someone's gone over them with red paint or something. Obviously you want to keep it as realistic as possible, but yeah, the green here, it's nice, but it's not green as I was hoping for and expecting. A bit more of a vibrant green would be nice. So that is all of these. So if we just remove his helmet a moment and have a look at hair colours, as you can see there are some new ones as well. They've kept the originals in as well, but we've now got a nice vibrant violet here, and they've done a really good job of it. I do like what they've done with that, and the same with the white hair. It does just add that little bit of variety into some of the gladiators. You can make them stand out a little bit more. Now we've also got some of the originals that have come back as well, and they are the same, and that does include, unfortunately, the issues that we had with the blue and black hair. If I just quickly go between them, there is no difference in them whatsoever. They're both the same colour. It just, if you're going to have blue, make it blue. If you don't want, a big bright blue, make it, a darker blue, but take the black out, if that makes sense, because at the moment the blue and the black look identical. You cannot tell the difference between them. The grey, yeah, that's fine. Maybe use the grey as the template for the blue instead of using the black. That way then you'll actually see more of the blue in it. The one that I do think is missing as well is a nice fire red. Now I know we've got like the orange and darker orange colours here, and they're alright, but I'm on about proper fire red. Just imagine a female gladiator, or male gladiator, but a female gladiator coming in, long red fiery hair, big axe or sword and shield, and I know it will have nothing to do stat wise in the game, but again, aesthetically wise, it, from my opinion, it will really enhance some of the gladiator and give that more variety. Talking about variety, again, eye colour. There are additional eye colours in here, and there's a new blue in here as well. And yeah, again, you're not really going to see them, but why not? You can change the eye colour and make them more yours. Now, the face paint, as I said, they have done a nice bit of work on them. As you can see, they've got a few extra colours in there. So if we just quickly go over to the face paint and go through them, you can see obviously some of them are returning, what is great, and there have been a few additions, and you've already seen a couple of them, like the white hand of Sauron, but we've also got some more stripes and under the eye ones, and even some more, actual face coverings. Now one that would, I don't know, it would probably look a bit fun maybe, is a full face paint. So you could maybe, the entire face put in a red or a blue or black or whatever you wish out of all the colours. Again, now the good thing about all these is you can either have all your gladiators look different, or you can select one that you like, and then put it on all your gladiators and have it as a sort of tag, or you know, a symbol that all your gladiators have the same on it. Now, one like this one, I would like the option maybe to have them as different colours. It could be something that you could look at in the future, where you can have like the eyes as one colour and then the mouth as a different one. And as I say, I'm going through here quickly, just showing off the original colours and how they look. And some of them have been tweaked, what is nice. Some of them do look a little bit nicer than we did previously. But as I said, we've got some new ones. So this was technically the gold last time, but it's more of a metallic yellow now, and that's part of the tweak that I was saying that I do like. But the new colours that have been added in are starting with this like metallic orange sort of colour here. And yeah, I mean, it looks really nice. The way the light shines off it, just like in the yellow previously, it kind of gives it that, as I say, metallic sort of look. Then you've got the actual new gold colour, as well as a nice emerald, and they do look nice, especially on different coloured skins. We've also got a nice vibrant violet slash purple here, and again it looks really nice. And you've got black, so you can actually try and match them up with like their hair if you wish. But that is another thing that the extent of is their attribute. The next part, now, I'm going to go into this one in a bit more detail at the end, because this is quite a bit that I would like to see changed here. I mean, there is a really nice basics, it is, the start of it is good, but it's random what you get. You click on roll and it will give you random stats in everything, and you just have to keep re-rolling until you get the one that you're happy with. Now keep that in, but there are a few changes that I would like to see here, but I'm not going to go into them now, because as I say, we're looking at what's changed and what's the same at the moment, and the additions I will be putting at the end, so we'll leave that until then. So that was the role library where you can create your own gladiators. So now let's see the differences when we start a new game, because this has changed as well. The first thing you will notice is you get to pick your difficulty straight away. It doesn't go straight into the character creation. And there are now 5 difficulties compared to the 3 that there were previously. And it's basically easy, very easy, easy, medium, hard and very hard. With the obviously difficulty depending on the boost that you get and the debuffs that the computer gets, if you go easier, and vice versa if you go harder. And of course you've got Iron Man mode and no manual combat to make it a bit more realistic and more of a management game rather than an RTS. So there the intros and the startup. Next we'll go into the character creation, and this hasn't changed at all. The new additions that have been put in, the hair colours, the eye colours and all that are still here. You can still put them in, but the portraits have been left the same and everything's identical. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on this part, because as I say, there's nothing really different to see. The only thing that I will pick up on here is you will see a little green area down there above the start button, and the characters or gladiators that we've created in the role library will now appear in there, so you can select 2 of them to actually start off in your first fight. So I do like that the fact that you can, you know, create and start off with them at any point. So getting into the actual game itself now, and the intro and the first section are almost identical, and it's only actually the gladiators themselves in this first section that are different. Now depending on the difficulty, the equipment that your opposing gladiators and your own gladiators wear will vary. But one thing you will notice as well is in the previous recording that I did, your gladiators were at a higher level. If I remember correctly, it was level 5 and then level 9, where your opponents were level 1. Now, your gladiators start off at level 1 as well. The only advantage or disadvantage you get is depending on the weaponry and armour that everybody starts with. And I do enjoy that. It's more fair and realistic. You're not going to be starting off with two gladiators at a really high level. You're just starting out. Your gladiators are going to be basic, and I do like that as well. Now what I've done here is with this one, I've decided that although it does want you to kill them off, just to show it, the last time we killed them, so this time I'm going to show you that if you go against it, you actually lose favour. So after the battle, you come to this next scene, and this is the same. It's the same conversation, the same options, and not much has changed apart from the location. So here you actually are in the celled area instead of the training area. But yep, it's all the same conversations, as I say, the same options. Nothing really has changed from the first version of this. Okay, so as you can see, we start off in the gladiator cells, and it is pretty much the same. The only difference really at this point is the fact that you start off with a lot more money. You've still got all the other items and things that you had previously, but another addition is the quest log. You actually have a quest now to tell you what you need to do, and like I say, we need 300 influence before we can move the story along. Now all these other rooms are identical in every way, apart from the treatment room that's got a new camera angle, but other than that it's the exact same. And while it's nice, there is still quite a lot missing in my opinion from it all. If we just quickly go into the first person, you'll see that again, just like in the previous video I did, there's nothing to do. This door is still yellow and you cannot interact with it in any way, and I am hoping that that is just for something in the future. But other than that, yep, there's nothing to interact with really as you wander around. The dummies you can't interact with, the weaponry that's out, you can't. Nothing, it's just scenery really to walk around, and the layouts are exactly the same. You know, there's tools that can't be done. The only thing you can actually do anything with is the doors. Just open and close them, and that's about it. But you know, as you go around you can look, and there is one little nice bit in it, and that is the guards here. They do actually now recognise you. Whenever you look at them, they will give you a salute. And you know, it's nice that they recognise that you're there and you salute you, but that's it. As you go on, you'll find your gladiators around at wherever they are and whatever they're doing, but again, they might as well just be models because you can't interact with them. There's no talking with them, there's no, you know, helping them or do anything. Even in the medical bay, you can come in here and you can see there we've got Beauregard down on the bed injured, but you can't do anything with her. You can't talk to her to see how she's doing, you can't try lifting her morale, and you can't actually help her in any way. All this medical stuff here, and you can't interact with it at all. So, you know, it's nice, don't get me wrong, it is nice to be able to look at, but it's empty. It feels like a set, not a lived in or used area. So yeah, it just loses a bit of feel. So as I said previously, once you've been in here and you've had a walk around, well, there's nothing else for you to do. You don't need to come back in it, and I would like to see that changed really. So taking a look at the map here, you can see that it's the same. There's not any difference in the early map, apart from the difficulty of the gladiators that you're going to be going against, because they are all starting off at level 1. Now, if I quickly just say I was going to send my gladiators into this competition here, you can see that there is the dispatch and start button. Now, I made a mistake in this in the previous episode. I said the dispatch was a fast track, so you just click dispatch, it skips the day, they go out, they come back, and you have your result. In fact, what it actually is you send them out and it is all automatic, but it allows you to carry on and do other stuff. So you can send multiple gladiators to multiple tournaments, and you can actually send them out while you go to the market or something. Now, they do take longer to come back than would be normally. It's an extra day, I believe, but that can be beneficial in the long run. Now, looking at leveling your gladiators up, I do believe I looked at it in the previous video, but I kind of scanned over it, and it's quite detailed, yet very accessible and easy to navigate and figure it out. Now, you can select the weapon mastery and improve which weapons they are better with, although any gladiator can use any weapon they wish. And the same with, their abilities, you can level them up. They're also got the skills that they can improve with said weapons, so you can get them up to a maximum of level 10, and each of them comes with a either passive or active ability that can help them in a fight in the long run regarding that weapon. In genres, this is where the genre part comes into it, and these are more passive abilities and more personalized for the gladiator themselves, depending on how you wish to make that gladiator perform in the arena. There are even under the commander ones abilities to heal, so you can actually have a healer in the arena with you, and that it can actually be. So as you're leveling your character up, there are weapons that don't really sit with the weapon mastery per se. For example, there is a staff weapon. Now, that can be classed as two-handed, but it could also be classed as a poleaxe because it's the exact same. And there are a few things like that that are classed as weapons but are not actually put in the weapon mastery availability. Now, I'm not sure whether that's because you can't master in them or that they are actually put in under one of them other two. And it kind of, I'd like to see that added just to even axes, instead of having, one-handed, two-handed, you could have, axe and swords as well. So, something like that maybe could be added in as well. Next, we're going to look at the market, because these have also had a bit of an overhaul. While there's only the 3, when you get into them, you'll notice that there has been a few changes made to them, and I've got to say, these changes are for the better. So as we get into the market, you can see that we come into the slave area first, as per usual, and all the slaves are there. But down the bottom you will notice, along with the other 3 stores that were there previously, there is the food merchant. So we'll have a look at that now. So as we get to the food merchant here, you can see that they have all the different ingredients that you need to make meals with, as well as recipes. And these can come in handy. Now, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I do believe that any white, green and blue recipes you can get yourself. The purple one that you just saw me purchase there, you can only get at the market, and that will go as for any of the others as well, and we're going to look at them now as well. So just like the food shop, we've got the alchemy shop here at the Pirates Market, and this one gives you all your medical equipment and recipes that can be used in your med bay. And the final one is the material merchant, where you can get all the materials that you need for your blacksmith, including recipes as well from there for weapons and armors that you can build. So a bit further on, once you've played the game a while and you finally complete your quest of getting your influence above 300, you receive this letter here. inviting you to the games. Now, up until this point, you've just been fighting for the sake of fighting in these smaller arenas. This is your chance now to progress the story into the bigger arenas and fight the tougher champions. And, you know, it's a quest that gives story. It gives you the chance to reclaim the glory of the Blackthorn Arena that was previously lost due to your father, and it's a way of, it's kind of like part one is over, so the tutorial, the training is done. Now let's get on with the story, and it's a nice way to do it. It's kind of the first boss coming up, so to speak. It's the warning of it, and I do like that. Now, later on as you play the game, I'm not sure if this is dependent on anything in particular or it's just a set date, but you do get the ability to have side quests do come up, and there are different types and different ones. I'll just show one for you off in a moment, but they are, depending on, you know, what you wish to accomplish out of them, you can get resources out of them. You can get treasures, you can get more slaves, and you know, it's really enjoyable. It just kind of adds extra flavour to this game, and it's just more that's been added in this update that I do really enjoy. And it kind of goes into as well something maybe slightly that I would like to see added. As I say, the added stuff I'll put at the end. But let's just have a look at what one of these side quests actually is. Now, as we've got Abu here talking away, telling us all about them and, you know, what the consequences are. Once he's finished gabbing, you can have a look at the map here and you can see the new icons on here. So if I just highlight them quickly for you, you can see the three that are here. There is actually a fourth one that hasn't shown up, but each of them has a different objective in it or task. So if we have a look first at the blue one, the chains, that is, well, as it suggests there, that is capturing slaves. Now there is two different types of slaves that you can go after. They are random which ones it is, so you don't actually choose what you're going after. You could either be going after a band of bandits or a new settlement that has started to pick up, and just grab the slaves from there. You've then got the pink one, which is a caravan, so you'll be coming up against 4 guards and a merchant, but they will be having a fair number of items and money on them. That is quite a random one, what you actually get out of that one. Then the green one is a wild animal. You will come up against it, and you may come up just against the one, or there may be multiple in there, and that's a good way of getting not only experience but also the items that you may need. The final one that isn't shown here is a chest, and as you will guess, it is treasure that you will be going after, or equipment. And that one puts you into a dungeon, where the 3 that are shown are outside in a field or somewhere like that. The final one is an actual dungeon mission, and you will go looking for treasures. And them treasures can be anything from swords and shields to money and anything that you can think of. Any item basically that spawns can be picked up in that dungeon. And you will come across some strange creatures. Now, in the 3 that are on the screen, everything is what you would call normal. So they will be humanoids, they will be elf, dwarf, bruteman, or animal that you can recognise as normal. In the dungeons, you will come across completely different. So you may come up against spiders, or skeletons, or mutated fish, and various other fantasy creatures. And I just think that is a really nice touch. But the main thing with them is not only do they give you some really good items, you also get some really great experience for your gladiators. Now these do take several days from start to finish, so make sure that when you're sending your gladiators, you are giving them plenty of time, or you know that you're not going to need them for the next couple of days. So once you've selected it and you've gone about things and you get a few days later, you will get this. Now depending on what it is that you've sent your gladiators out to do, depends on what obviously options you've got. With the capture slaves ones, you can attack during the day, the night, or withdraw. Now if you attack at night, it does take an extra turn, but you do get advantage as the fact that they are all asleep when you attack. But as this is YouTube, we'll attack during the day because it doesn't like darkness. So when you get in there, you actually get a complete map, basically, a nice little area, completely different to any of the arenas. Now you can't walk around and you actually control your gladiators, but you're only allowed to go so far away from the gladiators themselves, so you can't pre-scout out the entire area. You can basically just see what's in their sight range. Now one of the things as well is best to do is the party formation. Now this can come in handy. It's not really that handy during the gladiatorial arena battles, but in here it is, because this one is a pretty basic one, but when you get into the dungeon, you will want the gladiators set up in a specific way that will give them advantage on the first attack. So it's easy enough that you can either click the ones at the top or just click on the gladiator themselves and move them into a position. Now I would like to see an arrow on here which is forward. Now it took me a while to figure this out, but forward is actually up. I wasn't too sure, but eventually after a bit of playing around with it, I did figure out that up is forward. Now you can spread them out as far as you like or have them as close as you like, and they will actually stay in that position. So once you've hit confirm and crossed out, select any of the gladiators, and this time they got too close and were attacked. But you will see in a moment that when you click and you tell them to move, then they will move and stand in that formation that you put them. So where I put Caleb at the back because he's an archer, it then gives him protection when we get attacked. But as you can see there, they are now actually standing close to the formation that I gave them. And yet you've got to be careful, because if you get too close to the edge of the map, it will think you're trying to leave. But there we go, they are now in the position that I asked them to get into, and it doesn't matter who I select or get to move, they will always go in that position, even if I tell them to come down another way. Now the best thing to do as well with these is loot all the kills that you get. Now you'll either get a loot or you'll get a sword. If you get a sword, that means they're still alive, so you can't loot them, and you can potentially take them back as a slave when the mission is over. But as you walk around and you find more, you will eventually get to a point where you've done the mission objective. Do not quit out once you've done the mission objective unless you know the entire map has finished, and I'll show you why in a moment, because this here is the only downside at the moment of this part, and that is the pathing. The pathing isn't perfect at the moment. You do tend to get stuck, so the best thing to do is, instead of doing nice big long drives, do small steps. Instead of having to go from one side of the map to the other, tell them to go a little bit at a time so they don't get stuck on scenery, as you can see that they're doing here. But once you get through and you've got them into the correct position, and then you attack, the other side of that is the NPCs are also stuck by the same rules. You won't always come at you because they'll get stuck on things like the beds, as in this case. But this is a nice easy one. You see they're all level 1s and, you know, not much trouble for my gladiators. But as I say, that is now all of them taken down, or it will be momentarily. There we go. And it's saying, you know, there, you've done your quest. Do you want to head back? Always say no. Unless you're 100% sure, always say no, because a lot of the time there is more on the map than just your main objective. And in here, this one again, as I say, it's the first one, it's only a small one, but if you go around searching everywhere, eventually you'll come across either chests that you've not opened, or in this case, out in the open, if we zoom right in, there are actually items. So there's 2 carrots here and some bread. Pick it up, and some cheese. Take it back, and you can use it in recipes. Whichever recipes will require them, but there are more items there that you can get. And once you have finished and click on withdraw because you've done everything, you are then presented with this screen where you can select up to 2 of the captured slaves to take back to the arena. Not quite sure which happens to the ones that you don't take behind, whether they just get left or you kill them off or sell them, but they are here and you can pick 2 of them. Now, there's not always this many to choose from because your gladiators can and will sometimes kill them off, so you cannot take them back. But once you've done that, you can then see there how much experience they got. Compared to even a tournament, that is a fair amount of X. And if you have a look here in the tab with all your gladiators in, they will appear in there. And depending on obviously the ones you bring back, depends on what you get. But these do have unique clothing on them. Obviously, it's the exact same stats as the slave armor, but just the aesthetics of it is different, and I do like it. It does look really nice, I think, actually. The fact that they're not wearing slavers' clothing, they're wearing their own personal clothing. And as you can see here, the stats are identical, so it doesn't matter which one you put on them, it's going to be the same. It's just how it looks, and I do like that, because then there's no advantage. You don't get an advantage one way or the other. So really what you could do with these is, if you're going to have these as your fighters, take these clothes off them, put whatever you're putting on, and then use these clothes for the gladiators that are staying back. So your medic, your cook, and you know, the blacksmith, even your torturer or your trainer, use them for them. Because, you know, why not? Instead of putting them to waste, they're not really worth anything and they don't do anything in a fight. And that's not all. There is so much more in this game that I could be here for hours and hours on end. But my previous one was nearly 2 hours long. This one is probably going to be not as long, but still pretty long. And yeah, there is just so much here. The story gets better. There's more to do. There's invasions later on. There is quests to go on to find the legendary armor. There is so much here to keep you playing, and I really do enjoy this game. As I say, there are things missing. Things that I'd like to see added. And, well, as I say, this is brand new. It's a new company, a new game, and they have done an amazing job with it at this point. And I look forward with delight to see where they take this and what else comes of this company. So I will be keeping a close eye on them. Now, I did say several times through this, there would be a section at the end of improvements I would like to see. So I'm going to list them for you now because, well, it's the end. I've got nothing else really to show you. So let's just quickly head back to the back door or the front door. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but we're going to head there and we'll do it in that spot. But just before we do, while we are in the med bay, let's just have a quick look at the doctor doing his research, I guess. And we've got everybody here who's been injured, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm getting distracted again because, you know, that's the thing I do. I tend to get myself distracted quite a lot playing games. And I do love as well the fact that they are working, even though it's not quite finished with the food. He's cooking empty plates there and staring at them. But, you know, the effort's there. It looks like he's actually working. It's not just, yeah, he's there, but his character disappears. He's actually in the right area. And yeah, there are a few bugs in it with flying food and stuff that just seems to be out. And now I've got this, I've found this bread. You know what, I'm going to try and get it. Where should we put it? You know what, let's see if we can get it into the larder area. If that's what you Americans call it, isn't it? A larder. Right, yeah. So, just knock it through here. And I mean, I'm not complaining about this. I actually found this quite fun. You know? Yeah, okay, it was a little bit of a problem, but I say leave it. It was fun. I enjoyed actually playing around, looking at the strange food. At the end of the day, it's a fantasy world. Who says there's no magic in this bread that's making it float? You know? All it requires is a bit of imagination and you can come up with any reason for it. It's not a glitch, it's intended. Right? But, yeah, I think we'll leave that bread there for now to float along on its own. And we'll head now back to the door and finish this off. And oh, look, there you go, they're even sleeping as well. Oh, that's nice. And he's wearing his weapons and armour, so that's a bit odd, but never mind. No, right, to the back. Okay, so I finally made it back. I'm not going to tell you how long it took for me to get here, but we're here. And as I said, we're going to have a look now at things I'd like to see added in future updates. And the first thing I'm going to start with is the character creation. As far as I have seen in this game, it's pointless. So either get rid of it and make it extremely basic, so you just have your portrait, or, you know, and the few little, and your name, and that's it. Or have you a reason for your character to appear in game. You know, maybe at the Blackthorn Arena, or even every arena, whoever the arena owner is, at the beginning, have a close-up of them. You know, a little welcome at for every tournament or every exhibition, or, you know, just a little something, so there's a reason to make your character look the way you want them to look. Because the first time I played this, I spent a good half an hour to an hour making my character how I wanted to, and I never saw them again. The only thing I ever saw was the portrait. The other thing is, well, get rid of the portraits and have them the same as you do the gladiator ones. So you create your character and then you get the camera and you can take the photo of their head and shoulders. You know, something like that as well, maybe. Because the portraits look nothing like the characters you actually make. Again, that, you know, that's only a little minor thing that bugs me, really. Next is colours. I'd like to see more variety in colours, whether that's skin colours for other creatures, or hair colours for them all, paints, the colours of the paints, even more different paints, you know, multiple colours in your paint schemes, or the ability to add multiple paint schemes together. Because at the minute you can only have the one paint scheme, so why not have an option to put maybe a second one over the top of it? You know, more, it just gives more variety. The next thing is races. At the moment there is only 4. So I would like to see a few extra added. So like I've said previously, tieflings, half-orcs, goblins, halflings, that's halflings, not younglings, Anakin. And maybe a few more humanoid ones. Like I said, I'm not really on about succubuses and demons and, you know, them sorts. Actual proper humanoid fantasy creatures. It's set in a fantasy world, so why not have a few more fantasy creatures that you can actually have to fight with? A more easier way to improve weaponry and armor, because at the moment you can research top tier rare armor, but unless you've actually got the basics already, then you're not going to be able to get that top tier armor. So either the research that comes out is based on what you have at the moment. So for example, a gauntlet. You could have a basic gauntlet. And, you know, so you look at that and you go, right, okay, the game when it comes up goes, this is what you got, right, we'll unlock the tier 2 gauntlet. There you go. That way then, you know that you can unlock what you already have. Now, of course, if you've got a basic gauntlet and you've already unlocked the tier 2 and tier 3 gauntlet, well, it will allow you to unlock the tier 4 because you've already got the stuff before it. But it's, you know, you can even do that, you know, even if you haven't got the gauntlet anymore. You know, one of your gladiators has got it on them, or you've sold it. You can, because you've got the tier 2 or tier 3, you can unlock later tiers. It's just so many times I've come up against problems because I've had no item, yet I've got the, you know, the maximum purple ultra rare ability to make it, but I cannot find in any of the shops or any of the tournaments anything that I can use to create it with. So, you know, things like that could be just tweaked and changed. This door, another one, I want to know what's behind this door. It is bugging me like crazy. What is it for? I mean, yeah, it's there. It says it can be interacted with, but you can't interact at the moment. So I'd love to know what is behind the door here. And talking about interactions, put in a system that you can interact with your guards. You can interact with the gladiators. You know, you can talk to them. You can be mean to them. So their obedience may go up, but their loyalty goes down. How you can be nice to them, so their loyalty and their obedience goes up. And this can affect the way they fight in the arena. So, for example, if you're nice to them and you have their loyalty and their obedience up, they will fight hard for you. The chance of them breaking won't happen as often. And, you know, there's even that dice roll in the background that if they get knocked down to 0 HP, as long as they've not been killed, there is a chance that if they have other gladiators around, they can have a second wind. They can get back up and carry on fighting. Just that one extra chance. Or you could have their obedience up but their loyalty down because you've been horrible to them. And when they fight, they will fight harder, but there's more chance of them going down before their HP actually hits 0, because they don't want to die. They'd rather lose the fight than risk their life for you. So, you know, it's just maybe a little bit more regarding how you can interact and keep your gladiators, and it will give you that feel for the gladiator. You'll actually create a bond with them through conversations and the way you treat them and the way they react to you. Because at the moment, while you do kind of get a small bond with them, it's not as much, because at the end of the day, they're just autonomous creations on the screen. You don't interact with them, so you can't build that rapport with them. talking about building a rapport and getting to know your gladiators, the next thing is right back at the beginning in the character creation when you create your own gladiators. I did mention this, that when you get to do their stats, you don't actually have any control over it. Now yet keep the rolling so you can do random, but also set up the choice that you can personalize them more. So you have a set number of points you can personally allocate to each area. So you can get one, say for example you have 1 point for weapon mastery. That's fine, you can select which weapon mastery you want to put them in. But when it comes to their actual stats, keep everything starting off at 5, that's not a problem, and then give you, say, another 5 or 10 points to put in. Now you can't take the stats lower than 5, but you can allocate them extra, say, 10 points between them other stats to make their stats match up with their weapon mastery, and that to also match up with their genres. Because so many times I've had a gladiator that genre has not matched up with their abilities. So you're wasting points on the first couple of levels to try and get them all in line so your gladiator has the correct abilities and genres and everything lines up. The other thing as well is I'd like to see the weapon mastery expanded a bit. So for example, there is the one-handed, there is dual, and there is shield, and they're all fairly similar because they don't really go in any particular way. So what I would like to see happen is the one-handed is fine. That is basically any gladiator that's fighting with a weapon in one hand and nothing in the other. The dual, again, fine, that's a gladiator who's fighting with a weapon in 2 hands. The shield I'd like to see changed to weapon and shield. So that is then anyone who's got the weapon in one hand and a shield in the other. And I'd like to see it that you can put it in any way. So you can have the shield in the right hand and the weapon in the left. You know, make a southpaw. Why not? It'd be, I'm sure back in the days of Rome there were left-handed gladiators. So, that could be something that can be looked at. The next one is range. Again, don't have an issue with the range. Now the two-handed, this is where, and the pole axe actually, is where things get a little bit muddy in my opinion. Because while some of the weapons are labelled as pole axe or two-handed, so for example there's the two-handed sword or a two-handed axe, or the trident is classed as a pole axe, there are others that are don't actually fit in any of them classes. So for example, like I was saying with Beauregard, I had a staff. Now, it's labelled as staff. So is that staff classed as two-handed or poleaxe? Because both of them use 2 hands. So I'd like to see maybe a staff mastery put in there, and a few more staffs as well, because as far as I can see there's only been 1 staff from the start of the game to where I'm up to. So something like that could be added in. It's only 1 extra and it can have its own unique abilities as well. Maybe a cross between poleaxe and two-handed. I'd also like to see as well unarmed. So send your gladiators in with spiked fist gloves or something, and they actually just fight bare-handed, or obviously like I've just said, with spiked gloves or something like that, because it would be nice, just to put them in, some of them in with proper fist fights. You can go in, you could do say 4 attacks for a generic 2 attack, or generic 1 attack actually, because swinging a sword is a lot slower than throwing a couple of punches. Okay, they won't be doing as much damage per hit, but they get more hits in, and so it would even out in that case. The limit, I do like the fact that once you get to level 10, that's it, it's full, you've got it all. So that is perfectly fine, and you can keep that in there. Just as I say, a few little things I'd like to see put in. There is one or two big changes or additions I would like to see. I'm not going to say changes, no, that's wrong. Additions is the right word. A few additions. So a new mode. So you've got this mode here, what is perfectly fine, but I'd like to see a career mode added in the future. So in that you create your character and you are a gladiator. There is an actual arc where you start off, and the training for it could be you're in the middle of a battle and it teaches you how to fight. You've already set up what weapons you're going to be using, and how you are going to look. So you go in and you're in the middle of a battle, and you go through a few quick training steps, and no matter whether you win or lose, the cutscene at the end is your side losing the fight and you being captured and made a prisoner. You're then taken to the market and sold. Why not to the Blackthorn Arena? Okay, so you were sold to a gladiator school where you will train and you will fight and you'll be put in. And your goal is to get yourselves up to the top level. You become a champion and gain your freedom. That could be an option, and I think that'd be quite nice. And then you could then, at the end of that, unlock that character to be available in your arena yourself. So you could actually then hire that one in your main game. Have the ability to, maybe start as a unknown. Instead of having the Blackthorn Arena, another option could be, another in career mode again. So when you go into career mode, you have Gladiator career mode or Gladiator School career mode. This can be story mode, this could be. And if this was story mode, I would not complain. I would be extremely happy with it. But then in, as I say, career mode, you've got your Gladiator mode that I've already mentioned. And then you go Gladiator School, where you get a run down old arena that nobody's ever heard of, and it was basically just a few bits of wood stuck up for walls, and maybe some kids used to fight in it or train in it to pretend to be the gladiators or whatever background story comes up, and you buy it. And you then have to build it up, not only in stature but also in looks. So build new walls, build training areas, build the medical room, the canteen and everything. You've got to build and put it in and get your gladiators in, and it's up to you how you go about getting your Gladiator School recognised and to the top of the leaderboard to become one of the elites. But it's down to you how you do it. Where this is kind of guided and is a set story, there's no actual story other than the one you make up for yourself. That, as I say, is just two ideas I would love to see added in the future, because, well, I think not only would it increase replayability, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of replayability in this game at the moment, but it would add an extra layer to the game. I'd also like to see the RTS sections increased and improved on. Don't get me wrong, what's there at the moment is brilliant, and now they've got rid of the bugs that are in there, they are enjoyable. Although, quick note to the devs, there is still a few minor bugs at recording where you load in and you can't move your gladiators. It seems to lock them in place and you can't move them. But other than that, there's no issues with them. They run really nice, but the small. I'd like to see a few bigger ones, especially on the treasure hunt ones. The ones where you're actually going into the dungeons, I'd like to see them possibly expanded on. The throne quest as well, I don't know if it's just I've not got far enough into it, but I don't understand at the moment what they're for. So maybe expand on them as well. I would also like to see a book added, as in an information book. So, you know, maybe add a little office where your little office is that you can sit in, and you can go through things, and it'll have all the stats of your gladiators on. Instead of having them on the right hand side, have it that you go to your office and then there's like little papers there, so you can click on the papers and one will bring up all your gladiator stats, one will bring up all your items, and one will bring up information that can be helpful. For example, the ratio of bronze to silver to gold, and maybe even to platinum, who knows? Because thankfully in my time and knowledge, I know that 100 bronze equals 1 silver, 100 silver equals 1 gold, and 10 gold equal 1 platinum. But if I didn't know that, I would not get the ratios. I wouldn't understand how it worked. I would think, oh, that's how many gold I've got, that's how many silver, that's how many bronze, and if you haven't got enough bronze there, you know, I can't do it. Even though I might have 20 silver and 25 bronze, if something is 30 or 40 bronze, I might go, well, I haven't got enough bronze, so I can't buy it. The final few little tweaks I wouldn't mind seeing, and I think would then just bring a little bit more immersion into the game, would be your items that you own actually being in locations in your arena. So for example, the armory, it's completely empty. So why not have that as where all the weapons and armors and shields and whatnot are in there on the racks and used. That way then, one, there's a limit to how much you can actually have, because at the moment I don't think there is an actual upper limit of what you can hold. So they could all go in there, and even have the gladiators return it to there at the end of a tournament. Then you could have up at the main hall where the food is cooked and served, all the ingredients that would be used in that little larder pantry area, and it's kept in boxes, so the more food items you have, the more that's filled up. Again, that way there's an upper limit that you can have, and you can actually see how much of stuff you've got. And as I say, the same with the medicine and all that sort of stuff, that can also have its own store area in the medical bay. And finally with the blacksmith, that's got that room, so why not have it, you can put, you know, all the materials into there. But they're just a few thoughts of what I would like to see in the future. As this game is at the moment, I think it is an amazing start. And as I say, I have been so impressed with this game. The devs seem to be amazing, they listen, they have put together, what I've got to say is, this game can be up there. Given a chance, this game can be one of them games that you look back on in years time and go, that's the game that made the company. This is so much potential behind it, and I really do look forward to what this game becomes and what this dev team becomes, because they've got a great game here. But in the meantime, I've been Sanky84, this has been Blackthorn Arena. Thank you so much for joining me, look after each other, and goodbye.